The moment Emma whispered those words in the conference room, I froze. 2 years of emotional wreckage from my divorce suddenly collided with this unexpected proposition from the woman who signed my paychecks. If you've ever had your life completely upended twice in the span of minutes, you'll understand why my hands trembled as I gripped the edge of that mahogany table. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This story, my story, is about how sometimes the most painful endings lead to beginnings we never could have imagined. If you're enjoying this journey already, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more stories about life's unexpected turns. I was 34 when Madison packed her bags, leaving nothing but divorce papers and the echo of her accusations in our once-shared apartment. "You love your work more than you ever loved me," she had said. The worst part? She wasn't entirely wrong. For 8 years, I had climbed the corporate ladder at Horizon Publishing, transforming from an eager editorial assistant to a respected senior editor. I worked late nights, weekends, chasing that next promotion, that next achievement. Madison's departure left me hollow, a successful man with an empty home and the crushing realization that success meant nothing without someone to share it with. The divorce proceedings dragged for months, each legal document feeling like another nail in the coffin of my personal life. I functioned on autopilot, pouring myself even more completely into my work. If my personal life was in shambles, at least my professional one could remain intact. That's when Emma Richardson joined Horizon as our new Chief Content Officer. Emma wasn't what anyone expected. Where our previous executives had been stern, traditional figures, Emma brought a vibrant energy that disrupted our corporate culture from day one. Her innovative vision for digital expansion earned her immediate respect, but it was her genuine interest in her employees that set her apart. She remembered birthdays. She asked about families. She noticed when someone was struggling. She noticed me. "James, you look like you haven't slept in days," she said one evening, finding me hunched over manuscripts long after everyone else had gone home. "Whatever you're running from, it's catching up to you." Something about her directness cracked the professional veneer I'd maintained since Madison left. Before I knew it, I was confessing everything: the divorce, my workaholic tendencies that contributed to it, the emptiness waiting at home. Emma didn't offer empty platitudes. Instead, she shared her own story of a marriage that had dissolved years earlier. "The hardest part," she said, "is learning to find yourself again when half of your identity has been stripped away." That conversation marked the beginning of what I thought was simply a mentorship. Emma took me under her wing professionally, challenging me to think beyond traditional publishing approaches and involving me in high-level strategic meetings. Our late work sessions became a regular occurrence, often ending with takeout and conversations that strayed far from business. I didn't recognize what was happening until Derek, my closest colleague, pointed it out. "You realize the boss has a thing for you, right?" he asked during lunch, causing me to choke on my sandwich. "That's ridiculous," I protested. "She's just invested in my professional development." Derek raised an eyebrow. "She doesn't spend 3 hours discussing professional development with anyone else after hours." His observation sent my mind reeling. Had I been so wrapped up in my own emotional recovery that I'd missed the signs? More troublingly, what did I feel about Emma? She was brilliant, compassionate, and undeniably attractive. But she was my boss, a complication I wasn't sure I was ready to navigate after the emotional minefield of my divorce. And beneath that professional concern lay a deeper fear, that I was simply too damaged to try again. The next few weeks became an exercise in hyper-awareness. Every meeting with Emma felt charged with unspoken possibilities. I caught myself noticing details I'd overlooked before: how her eyes crinkled when she laughed, the subtle floral scent of her perfume, the way she absent-mindedly twisted her hair when deep in thought. The annual publishing conference in Chicago became the catalyst. Away from the office environment, surrounded by the energy of industry innovation, something shifted between us. After a day of panels and networking, Emma and I found ourselves in the hotel bar, celebrating a partnership we'd secured with a major digital platform. I've been thinking, she said, swirling her wine thoughtfully, about boundaries. Boundaries? I echoed, suddenly nervous. The ones between personal and professional lives. The ones we create to protect ourselves. Her gaze met mine. The ones that sometimes prevent us from taking worthwhile risks. My heart hammered against my ribs. Some boundaries exist for good reasons. And some exist because we're afraid. She set down her glass. I've watched you rebuild yourself this past year, James. You've done the hard work of facing your pain instead of just burying it in more work. I had a good mentor, I said quietly. Her smile was soft, vulnerable. Is that all I am to you? A mentor? The question hung between us, weighted with implications. I could feel us standing at a precipice, one answer away from changing everything. No, I finally admitted, more to myself than to her. Not just a mentor. We stayed talking until the bar closed, careful to keep a professional distance despite the personal nature of our conversation. Back in New York, something had fundamentally changed. Our professional relationship remained intact. Emma was scrupulous about keeping our work interactions above reproach, but private moments revealed a deepening connection neither of us could deny. 3 months later, during a late-night strategy session for our digital relaunch, Emma closed her laptop and fixed me with an intent gaze. We need to talk about this, she said. My stomach dropped. About what? Don't play dense, James. About us. About what's happening between us. The conference room suddenly felt too small, too intimate. I struggled to find words that wouldn't sound trite or defensive. I'm scared, I finally admitted. Not just of the professional complications. I'm scared of failing again. Of hurting someone else the way I hurt Madison. Emma's expression softened. You think I'm not scared? I've built my career on being decisive, on never showing vulnerability. But this, you, make me vulnerable in ways I haven't been in years. She moved closer, her voice dropping to just above a whisper. After my divorce, I promised myself I'd never risk that kind of pain again. But sometimes, the right risk finds you anyway. That's when she said it, the words that would change everything. Leaning close, her lips nearly brushing my ear, Emma whispered, "Be my husband." Not, "Let's date." Not, "Maybe we could try." But a direct leap to the most profound commitment, skipping all the cautious intermediate steps. I stared at her, certain I'd misheard. What did you just say? Emma didn't flinch. I'm not proposing, not literally, not yet. But I'm telling you what I want. Where I see this going. I don't want temporary. I don't want casual. I want to build something lasting, something real. With you. The rawness of her honesty left me speechless. In that moment, I realized how rare it was to have someone state their intentions with such clarity, without games or hedging. I need time, I finally said. This isn't just about us. There are professional considerations. Take all the time you need, she replied. I've made my position clear. The next move is yours. The following weeks became a torturous exercise in decision-making. I sought advice from friends, even speaking with a therapist about the complexities of workplace relationships. The professional risks were significant: office gossip, potential accusations of favoritism, the complications if things ended badly. But beneath those practical concerns lay the real question: was I brave enough to trust again? Madison's departure had left scars deeper than I'd acknowledged. The fear of inadequacy, of being too absorbed in work to sustain a relationship, haunted me. Could I be different this time? Did I even know how? The answer came not in a moment of clarity, but through observation. I noticed how Emma challenged my workaholic tendencies rather than enabling them. How she valued clear boundaries between work and personal life. How she modeled the very balance I had failed to achieve in my marriage. A month after her whispered declaration, I invited Emma to dinner at my apartment. I wasn't a skilled cook, but I put genuine effort into creating a meal that represented care and attention, the qualities I wanted to bring into this new chapter. When she arrived, her eyes took in the carefully set table, the soft music, the nervous energy emanating from me. "You've made a decision," she said, reading me easily. I nodded, guiding her to the living room where we could talk before dinner. "I've spent weeks thinking about all the reasons this could go wrong." Her face remained composed, though I could see the tension in her shoulders. The professional complications. The echoes of past failures. The fear. I took her hands in mine. "But ultimately, only one thing matters. When I imagine my future, you're in it. Not just as a colleague or friend, but as my partner." The smile that bloomed across her face outshone every doubt. "So your answer is yes?" "My answer is that I want to build something real with you too. Not rushing into marriage, but not afraid of where this might lead either." The kiss we shared sealed a promise, not just of romance, but of intentionality. Of choosing each other with clear eyes and open hearts. What followed wasn't simple. We disclosed our relationship to HR immediately, developing a plan to ensure professional boundaries remained intact. Emma recused herself from decisions directly affecting my career path, and we agreed to seek opportunities in different branches of the company to minimize conflicts of interest. The office gossip was inevitable but short-lived. Our colleagues saw what we had built professionally before we became personally involved, which helped maintain mutual respect. More challenging were the internal battles. My tendencies toward workaholism didn't vanish overnight. Emma's fear of vulnerability sometimes caused her to withdraw when conflicts arose. We both carried baggage from our failed marriages that occasionally spilled into our new relationship. The difference was our commitment to working through these issues together. When I found myself staying late at the office 3 nights in a row, Emma didn't silently resent me as Madison had. Instead, she directly addressed the pattern. "I'm noticing you slipping back into old habits. What's driving this?" Her question forced me to examine the anxiety beneath my behavior. A project deadline had triggered fears of professional inadequacy, which I was trying to solve through excessive hours rather than more efficient work practices. Similarly, when Emma retreated into emotional distance after a disagreement about holiday plans with her family, I recognized the pattern from my previous marriage. "When you shut down like this, I feel like you're already halfway out the door," I told her. "I need to know we can disagree without the relationship being threatened." These conversations weren't easy, but they prevented small issues from festering into relationship-destroying resentments. We were building something different from our past relationships, something founded on communication rather than assumption, on partnership rather than independence. A year into our relationship, during a weekend getaway to the coastal town where Emma had grown up, I found myself standing with her on a cliff overlooking the ocean at sunset. The moment felt significant, weighted with possibility. "I've been thinking about what you whispered in that conference room," I said, turning to face her as the wind tousled her hair. Her eyebrow raised. "Which part?" "The 'be my husband' part." I took both her hands in mine. "I think I'm ready to answer properly now." The look of surprise on her face was worth every moment of planning. She hadn't suspected a thing when I'd suggested this walk, hadn't noticed the small box burning a hole in my pocket. I dropped to one knee, holding up the emerald ring I'd chosen, knowing her preference for unique over traditional. "Emma Richardson, you asked me to be your husband when I was still broken from the past. You saw something in me worth believing in before I could see it myself." My voice caught, emotion threatening to overwhelm my carefully prepared words. "Now I'm asking you, will you be my wife? Will you continue building this life with me, where we challenge each other to be better while loving each other exactly as we are?" Tears spilled down her cheeks as she nodded emphatically. "Yes," she managed through her emotion. 1,000 times yes. As I slipped the ring onto her finger, I marveled at life's unexpected turns. 2 years earlier, I had been drowning in the aftermath of a failed marriage, convinced that my capacity for love had been permanently damaged. Now I stood at the beginning of a new chapter, not despite my past but because of how it had shaped me. Our wedding 6 months later was intimate, just family and close friends gathered in a garden ceremony that celebrated not just our love, but the journey that had brought us together. Derek, who had first pointed out Emma's interest in me, served as my best man, his toast both heartfelt and gently teasing about my initial obliviousness. To James and Emma, he concluded, raising his glass. Proof that sometimes the best things in life arrive disguised as our biggest challenges. We both transitioned within the company, Emma taking an executive position with an international branch, while I accepted a creative director role in a different division. The adjustments required compromise, but they also opened new professional opportunities neither of us had anticipated. More importantly, they reinforced our commitment to prioritizing our relationship alongside our careers. We established clear boundaries, no work discussions after 8 p.m., dedicated date nights, quarterly weekend getaways where laptops stayed home. 3 years into our marriage, as we welcomed our daughter Lily into the world, I found myself reflecting on the winding path that had led us here. The painful divorce that had seemed like an ending had actually been a beginning. It had forced me to confront patterns that would have poisoned any relationship. It had created the space for me to meet Emma not just physically, but emotionally, to be ready for the kind of partnership we now shared. Emma, cradling our newborn daughter while humming softly, caught my contemplative expression. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "About how sometimes the things that break us open are the same things that make room for something new to grow," I answered, joining them on the hospital bed. "How grateful I am that you had the courage to whisper those words to me that night." She smiled, the same smile that had first begun healing my heart years before. The best risks are the ones that terrify you but call to you anyway. As I look back now, 10 years after my world first shattered with Madison's departure, I'm struck by how differently life unfolds than we expect. The divorce I thought had broken me beyond repair became the catalyst for growth I desperately needed. The boss I initially saw only as a mentor became my greatest champion, my partner, the mother of my children. And those whispered words in a conference room, "Be my husband," became not just an invitation to a relationship, but a call to become the person I was capable of being, present, balanced, courageous enough to try again despite past failures. If there's any wisdom I can share from this journey, it's this: sometimes what feels like an ending is merely the universe clearing space for something better to begin. The pain is real, but so is the possibility waiting on the other side of it. And sometimes, the most extraordinary new chapters start with a whisper you never saw coming.